Hi, my name is Sarah Harpering, and this is my tribute speech, and here are my audience members. Here's a quote that I've found to be quite true year after year attending school. William Arthur Ward said, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, but the great teacher inspires." Mr. Keith Perrin, my 12th grade English teacher, merits to be called a great teacher by this standard. By his love, belief, and defense of learning, Mr. Perrin's reverence for education has emanated from him and transcended to me. And from the example of Mr. Perrin's teaching style, accepting and respecting each individual student, regardless of behavior, academic performance, or any circumstance, Mr. Perrin has modeled what it means to truly be an outstanding teacher. Mr. Keith Perrin works in my hometown, the Rush County school system in a rural area of Indiana with little demographic diversity. Aspiring to be a future English educator, I'm in most awe of Mr. Perrin's success in incorporating enormously different viewpoints into an academic setting that neither necessarily lends itself to multiculturalism nor is representative of the world. In English class, Mr. Perrin is effectively able to facilitate discussion about topics of which most students would never think or have presumptions and preconceived stereotypes. I do not separate myself from this category, but thankfully Mr. Perrin was able to expose me to readings from all different types of people. While in the marriage unit of my writing intensive class, Mr. Perrin assigned readings by conservative, liberals, religious, atheists, homosexuals, and heterosexual authors. Working within the constraints of time, standards, and the community in which he teaches, Mr. Perrin succeeds in exposing students to the most comprehensive curriculum possible by avoid reducing any one topic down to a single story, a stereotype of a group. Each reading assigned challenged the way I thought about the world by dismantling bias, prejudice, and stereotypes that I never realized I had. Although I attribute the influence to the readings, Mr. Perrin has been incredibly capable of leading discussions in which students can talk about hot topics with reason, open mind, and critically analyzing claims. He creates a safe environment where the search for knowledge is accessible and open to every student. He is subtle and rarely exhibits his personal beliefs, yet he has the capability to so radically challenge students' thinkings and beliefs. Up until my sophomore year, the first time I had Mr. Perrin as a teacher, I really did not learn for the sake of learning. I learned for the sake of scoring well on the next test. Ironically, Mr. Perrin taught me that education is much more than getting A's. He made the etymology class he taught so interesting by linking a word to a song, a book, a historical event, a quote, or anything else. I was impressed, to say the least, at his ability to remember and connect so much. His brain's a vast network of knowledge where even the most seemingly dissimilar things are attached to one another, and that's what made me value education. The fact that learning is more about building bridges between ideas, concepts, and theories than having a high GPA. Mr. Perrin's a silent but strong advocate through his model of teaching for interdisciplinary education. The connections that link curriculum Mr. Perrin showed me can extend far outside of the academic setting. Once this love of learning was ignited in me, I began noticing these things. For example, I saw how a proverb read at church could connect to an idea in my economics class, how that idea was similarly portrayed by its effects on the marginalized represented in a work of literature, and these types of people may be similar to groups that were portrayed in the media, becoming important topics and political platforms of politicians. And also, the way politicians spoke directly related to the concepts of pathos, logos, and ethos that I'd learned in speech class. The things that I learned in all areas of my life suddenly changed from isolated clouds of information to a network of knowledge and wisdom. I believe the ability to make such a meaningful connection is not something that can be necessarily taught to a person, but it can surely be modeled through actions. Mr. Perrin's very interactions with student, faculty, text, media, and culture exhibit the power of education, much more potent than a clutter of data points, but mighty in connecting the world. To attest to Mr. Perrin's outstanding teaching, I only have my individual experience as witness. Yet year after year, Mr. Perrin is loved and admired by all types of students, and I believe this is a bigger evidence for his excellency than the one account I can provide. From a general perspective, both intellects and students who dislike school admire Mr. Perrin. Theater kids and athletes like him too, and class clowns and serious students alike respect and esteem him. But from Mr. Perrin's humble perspective, he would say it's just people who like him. For Mr. Perrin never reduces a person down to one characteristic and does not classify or group his students. He recognizes the unanimous and universal necessity of his students, the deepest need to be seen as individuals, a unique entity, worthy of value, care, and love. In paying tribute to Mr. Perrin, I found myself mentioning his exceptional character qualities that have made him a respectable role model. However, in celebrating the inspiration Mr. Perrin has had on me, I not only attest to a brilliant man, but the power of teaching and the democratic ideals of the education system that Mr. Perrin and his teaching so admirably modeled. Thank you. And here is my audience members again.